Hi everyone, I'm Sharon and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be making a school-themed thank you card featuring 3 Critters students sitting at their desks excited for another day of learning in the classroom. The Critters surprised their teacher with a message of appreciation on the chalkboard that says, "Thanks for being my teacher." Without any further ado, let's get started with a quick overview of the Fawn products I used to create this card. I use and modify this desk from the stamp set You're Just My Type, the office chair, mouse, and accessories from Virtual Friends add-on, the bear and bunny from Really High Five, the books from Den Sweet Den, sentiments from Thanks, Thanks, Thanks stamp set, 2 rectangles from the small and large stitched rectangle Stackables, starting with a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I used some Scotch Delicate Surface Washi Painter's tape to mask off the floor of my seam, and I ink blend fossilized amber and mustard seed distress oxides to create a bright yellow wall for the classroom. I wait for the ink to dry, gently peel off the tape, and use a new piece of tape to mask off the wall so that I can ink blend the ground. For the floor of the classroom, I use tumbled glass distress oxide. Once again, I wait for the ink to dry before gently peeling off the tape. I load all of my stamps into my MISTI stamping tool and use Fawn jet black ink to ink up all of my images. Because I'm going to be modifying the desk, I stamped 2 extra left legs of the desk that you can see here. Off screen, I colored my images using my Ohuhu alcohol brush markers and used the coordinating dies to cut out all of my images. To modify the desks, I trim off the large drawers on the right and replace them with another left desk leg to create a smaller, more compact desk that is traditionally found in a classroom. I make 2 of these modified desks. I use a white gel pen just to touch up some of the black lines and to add some white highlights to my colored images. This gives my images more dimension and shine as if reflected by the light. Now to create the chalkboard, I use the 3rd largest rectangle of the large stitched rectangle Stackables and the 2nd largest rectangle of the small stitched rectangle Stackables. I use 3 shades of my brown Ohuhu alcohol brush markers for the wooden frame of the chalkboard. I use the darkest shade for the outer trim and blend it out with a medium and light shade. I use MOWED Lawn Distress Oxide for the green board and go over the edges with Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide to create some shading. Using a stitched rectangle, I cut a thin ledge for under the chalkboard and colored it with the same 3 shades of brown as I used for the frame of the chalkboard. For the sentiment, I used Thanks for Being My from the Thanks, Thanks, Thanks stamp set. I cut apart the words my and hero and use the word teacher from the Hero Arts #1 winner stamp and cut set. I prepare my cardstock with some anti-static powder, ink up my sentiment with some VERSAMARK watermark ink, sprinkle on some Ranger fine white embossing powder, and use my heat tool to melt the powder to reveal the bright white sentiment against the green chalkboard. Now for the fun of assembling the card. I start by adhering the ledge under the chalkboard And then I adhere the frame and the green board. I use the grid on my work surface to ensure the board is centered. Then I cut the top part of the chalkboard that is hanging off of my card front with my Tim Holtz paper trimmer. For my images, I glue my critters onto their chairs and add a book onto each of their paws. I love how this bear looks like he's raising his book into the air. With their books in hand, the critters look like they are really excited about what they are reading and learning. As I lay out my classroom scene, I use my Make Art Station grid to help me align my desks evenly on the card. I place the bear on the right and the bunny on the left. The third critter is too small for a desk, so he is sitting tall on a stack of books in the middle. He looks so eager with his hands raised, waiting for the teacher to call on him. On the left side of the ledge, in the background, I have some school supplies sitting atop a stack of books. And on the right side, I have a nice green plant propped up on a couple of books. My inspiration for this card comes from this time of the year. The end of August marks the end of summer and the start of another school year for students. Today's card is in keeping with the theme of going back to school and being in the classroom. Teachers work so hard, day in and day out, year after year, to teach and meet the needs of each and every one of the students in their classrooms. Today's card is fitting for a student who wants to show appreciation for a teacher. Next, I will create the card base. I have a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of accent opaque 120-pound cardstock that I score at the midway 4.25 mark on the 8.5 inch side. I adhered the card front to the card base, and here we have it, my finished card. The critters are happily sitting at their desks and excited for another day of learning. They surprised their teacher with a message of appreciation on the chalkboard that reads, "Thanks for being my teacher." This school-themed thank you card would be greatly appreciated by any teacher during the school year. Thank you so much for joining me today in this card making tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I hope you will join me again next time for another card making tutorial. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.